There's a discomfort you've been carrying inside for years. It doesn't have a clear name. It's not stress. It's not anxiety. It's something subtler and more corrosive. A kind of internal erosion that doesn't hit all at once but slowly empties you from within. And even though you've tried to ignore it, it's still there, waiting for you to face it. It doesn't come from a major trauma. It comes from the small surrenders, from the times you lowered your head to avoid conflict, from the times you stayed silent for peace, even though inside you were screaming for justice. They trained you to be understanding, to yield, to swallow. They told you being good meant enduring. That was a lie. What you actually did was become the silent receiver of what others didn't know how to handle. You became the emotional sponge of sick environments. And now you carry guilt that isn't yours, doubts that didn't begin with you, and wounds you've learned to hide as if they were part of your body. And when something bothers you, you're no longer sure if it's intuition or if you're overreacting. Spoiler, you're not. What you have is a mind crying out for help, loudly. And the worst part is, you've gotten used to that noise. Carl Jung knew it before anyone else. He didn't devote his life to studying spectacular traumas. What concerned him most were the silent poisons, those everyday gestures that seem harmless but slowly destroy your integrity, the attitudes you accept once and that repeat themselves until you no longer know who you are. This video is not gentle. It's not meant to make you feel better. It's meant to rip off the veil, to show you the 7 behaviors Jung considered unacceptable, not because they're wrong, but because they're direct threats to your psyche, to your identity, to your peace. What's most dangerous is that they don't show up as aggression. They wear disguises, as affection, as humor, as good intentions. And if you're not awake, you let them in, once and again. And with each time, you lose a piece of yourself. That's why you're here. Not for entertainment, not out of curiosity. You're here because something inside you can't take it anymore. Because something broke. Because you no longer want to keep swallowing in silence. But don't get it wrong. Not all of this comes from the outside. Some of these behaviors, you've practiced them too. And that's why they hurt. Because you didn't just suffer them. You repeated them. Not out of malice, but because no one taught you how to spot them. No one told you this too was violence. The worst thing about these wounds is that they don't bleed. They settle in slowly, in small phrases, in gestures that seem harmless. And that's why they pass unnoticed, because they don't scream, because they don't break you all at once, because they disguise themselves as love, as concern, as loyalty, until one day, you're no longer you. You're what others patiently shaped while you believed you were choosing. Carl Jung understood it with chilling clarity. Emotional manipulation rarely comes by force. It sneaks in, it arrives softly. It never says, "I control you." It says, "I'm saying this for your own good. If you really loved me, you'd do this. I don't understand why this bothers you so much." And that's how the fracture begins. First, you doubt what happened. Then, you doubt how you felt it. In the end, you doubt yourself. Because a skilled manipulator doesn't need to shout. They only need you to start betraying yourself. That's not love. It's not friendship. It's not care. It's domination wrapped in affection. It's polite control. And the most dangerous part, it often comes from someone you love. And that makes it even more toxic, because it makes you confuse resignation with loyalty, silence with maturity, surrender with peace. Jung said it without anesthesia. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And what better way to avoid themselves than by shaping yours? Manipulation doesn't feed on conflict. It feeds on your fear of loss, on your need to be accepted, on your misunderstood upbringing, on your silence. And once they've tested you, once they've seen that you don't respond, that your defense is weak, that your doubt is constant, they take it a step further. It's no longer enough to shape your perception. Now they want to distort your image in front of others, and they do it in the most cowardly way. They laugh at you, not as a direct attack, but as a joke, as humor. Mockery disguised as humor isn't meant to make people laugh. It's meant to make you submit. It's that comment thrown casually into the air that everyone hears, except you. That phrase masked as a joke, but with an edge, spoken with a smile, but sharp like a knife hidden on the tongue. And the worst part? If you get upset, you seem exaggerated. If you stay silent, you reinforce the game. That's the trap. And that's where the real damage begins. Everyone laughs, except you. But you fake it too. You force yourself to laugh. Because you know that if you don't, they'll label you as the one who doesn't fit in, the one who can't take a joke, the bitter one. That's how the trap works. If you react, you're the problem. If you stay quiet, you allow it to continue. And in the meantime, every joke drives another splinter into your self-worth. Carl Jung knew this. The unconscious doesn't distinguish between play and reality. What's repeated becomes installed. Mockery, even when wrapped in a smile, is a form of violence. It doesn't scream, but it marks. It doesn't hit, but it weakens. It serves to establish hierarchy without saying it, to reduce you without touching you. The darkest part is that those who use laughter as a blade almost always do so from their own insecurity. They don't joke because they're free. They joke because they're afraid. Because their shadow whispers, they're not enough. And they need to put someone else beneath them so they won't hear it. But you didn't come into this world to be the target of other people's projections. You are not obligated to absorb the poison others can't process. And if you don't stop it in time, you let in something even more toxic through the door, the distortion of your perception. That's where gaslighting begins. They don't laugh anymore. Now they make you doubt. They tell you it never happened, that you're imagining things, that you're too sensitive, that you always exaggerate, that you're always making a scene. The most damaging part of gaslighting isn't the phrase. It's what starts happening inside you. Your mind, in order to survive, adapts. And that's where the internal betrayal happens. The exact moment when you stop trusting yourself. When you doubt what you felt, what you saw, what you sensed. You're lost. Because you're no longer inside yourself. You're trapped inside someone else's mind. Jung called it the corruption of consciousness, a kind of slavery that can't be seen. There are no chains, no screams, just a fog, dense, cold, persistent. A fog that settles in and makes you wonder whether you're the problem or if all of this is just normal. And here comes the most disturbing part. When they succeed in planting that doubt within you, when you no longer know what's real, they activate another weapon, subtler, more perverse. They begin to use your vulnerability against you. They don't just deny your memories anymore. Now they ridicule your pain. You share something that hurts, and they ignore it. You explain how you feel, and they tell you you're exaggerating. They throw your emotions back at you like they're defects, as if feeling were a mistake, as if hurting were weakness. Every time someone invalidates your inner world, they're telling you something without saying it, that your emotions are too much, that your pain is inconvenient, that feeling is a problem. And without realizing it, you learn to swallow, to stay quiet, to shrink, to become a mutilated version of yourself, one that doesn't disturb, one that doesn't take up space, one that simply doesn't get in the way. Jung was clear. What you repress doesn't disappear. It rots, and then it shows up as insomnia, as anxiety, as bottled-up rage that explodes in the wrong places, as nameless sadness that invades you when everything seems fine. Emotion isn't weakness. It's chemistry. It's biology. And what you don't express, your body screams. But it doesn't stop there. Because after the manipulation, the mockery, the gaslighting, and the emotional invalidation, something colder comes. More calculated, more devastating, silent contempt. That gesture, that look that doesn't meet your eyes, that message that never arrives, that presence that becomes absent with surgical precision. No insults, no yelling, just a silent punishment that erases you without touching you. And you feel it, not in words, in absence, in that deep need for connection that crashes against an invisible wall. And that's where many people break, because contempt can't be explained. It just drags you down. It makes you feel irrelevant, as if your entire existence depended on a reply that never comes. And if you've made it this far without exploding, without turning against yourself, then you're no longer the same. You don't trust the same. You don't speak the same. You don't feel the same. Because something inside you has been anesthetized. Jung said it plainly. What you deny submits you. What you accept transforms you. And everything you've been tolerating doesn't just hurt you, it trains you. It turns you into someone who survives, but doesn't live. But we're not done yet. There are two more. Two behaviors that are the most invisible, the most applauded, and the most dangerous. Because they don't just hurt you, they infect you. They become part of you. They sneak into your decisions, your way of seeing, your way of loving. And the first of them is celebrated by everyone. The normalization of sacrifice as virtue. The sixth behavior, and probably the most insidious one. Sacrifice was the first to disguise itself as virtue. They taught you this since childhood, that giving in is love, that adapting is noble, that putting others first is a sign of maturity. And so, without realizing it, you learned to disappear with elegance, to smile while erasing yourself, to live at the end of the line in your own life. But there's a truth that hurts more than any rejection. Not everything you do out of love is healthy, and not everything you endure for peace is peaceful. Sometimes that sacrifice you keep repeating is fear. It's habit. It's the elegant way you learned not to exist. Jung understood it without hesitation. He said that the true self, the core of the psyche, cannot be denied without consequences. That every time you abandon your true impulses, your boundaries, your voice, you fracture, you divide, you become a blurred version of who you once were. But the world applauds that. It applauds the one who stays quiet, the one who doesn't bother, the one who is always available. No one asks, and you, for yourself, when was it your turn? Perpetual sacrifice is not love. It's abandonment. It's becoming a kind ghost who smiles while drowning. And when you make that your identity, you lose yourself. And what happens when someone is completely lost? When they no longer have a center, a direction, or a sense of self? This happens. The final behavior, the darkest, the deepest, accepting contempt as the price for belonging. It's the end of the road. It's the hole where willpower is buried. When, after so much manipulation, mockery, gaslighting, silence, abandonment, you decide that anything is better than being alone with your truth. And you resign. You kneel. You beg for crumbs. You justify the unjustifiable. And the most tragic part, you convince yourself that the problem is you, that you deserve that treatment, that you can't hope for more. Jung called it psychic death. The moment when consciousness disconnects from itself, it no longer fights, it no longer asks, it no longer feels, it only survives. It adapts to abuse as if it were oxygen. It believes constant rejection is the price for not being alone. That being ignored is better than not being seen at all. But it's not. Listen to me carefully. Nothing justifies betraying yourself every day. Nothing. Loneliness is hard, yes, but living surrounded by shadows that drain you, that's hell. You're not here to beg for belonging. You're here to inhabit yourself. You're here to take up space without asking permission, to rebuild yourself after having allowed too much. And if you've made it this far, you know it. You feel it. Because each one of these behaviors left a mark on you. Maybe not all of them. Maybe not all the time. But you know what it feels like to look in the mirror and not recognize yourself. To stay silent so you don't disturb. To feel small in places where you were meant to shine. You can't say you didn't know anymore. You've seen them now. 7 poisons. 7 ways to destroy yourself with your own consent. Jung didn't write them as a manual. He left them as a warning, as a silent alarm in the middle of the snow. So tell me, now that you know, what are you going to do with it? Because here comes the part no one wants to accept. Most people, even after understanding everything, don't change a thing. They go back to the same environment, the same relationships, the same betrayal disguised as normality. Why? Because it hurts less to stay asleep than to wake up and face the brutal emptiness of being yourself. But you are not most people. You made it to the end. You listened to every word, every shadow. And something inside you started to burn. You feel it, don't you? That flame saying, "Not anymore." You don't have all the answers yet, but you know you can't keep living the same. And that is already the beginning. This is where the real work begins. It's not about pointing fingers. It's not about demanding from others. It's about observing, about looking at yourself without excuses, coldly, brutally. Where are you tolerating the intolerable? Who do you keep justifying out of habit? What part of yourself are you sacrificing, just to keep fitting in? This isn't self-help. It's a mirror without makeup. And if you can't stand your reflection, it's not because you're broken. It's because you still haven't dared to see who you are, when you're no longer pretending. Listen closely. If you choose to change, prepare to lose things. People, habits, connections. But make no mistake, you won't lose anything that wasn't already draining the life out of you. Every loss will be a purge, and whatever remains after that will be yours. Unbreakable, solid, real. Carl Jung didn't write to please. He wrote to awaken. And that's what you did today. You opened your eyes. Now don't close them. Don't pretend you didn't see what you saw. Don't betray yourself now, because there's something almost no one says. But you'll understand it from this moment forward. True power is not when the world respects you. It's when you no longer need it. If this video shook even a single fiber of you, do something. Not for me. For you. Go to the comments and write this sentence. What you tolerate buries you. Scream it in words. Leave it as a declaration, as an act of breaking free. Write that you're done swallowing poison with a smile. that you're done trading your peace for discounted affection. And if you want more content like this, raw, unfiltered, no political correctness, where psychology becomes a weapon, subscribe, not as a gesture, as a ritual, because every video that comes will be another bullet against everything that's killing you in silence. Click. Activate the bell, not for the algorithm, for resistance. There's no empty motivation here. There's truth. And that, in a world full of noise, is gold. And now, yes, turn off this video. But don't turn off what just ignited inside you. Walk differently, see differently, tolerate less, live more. Because remember this, those who awaken never fall asleep again until the next shadow, or until you finally decide to face it.